Da-da-da. Welcome to the Howler Podcast. I'm Chelsea.
And I'm Mary.
And we are so excited to be celebrating our 1-year anniversary. So we are doing a special live recording. We've got some folks with us here in Minnesota. We have some folks with us online on Zoom. So we're just going to get started because we have a jam-packed hour of fun and stories, and we're going to introduce you to some PAC members. So we're just going to jump right in. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that's
okay. Great. All right. So if you listen to the podcast, you know that we always ask all of our guests the same rapid fire questions at the end of each episode. They're just fun questions to get to know them a little bit better. So we thought we'd get started with playing the same rapid fire game. But we are putting a little twist on it, and we are going to play to see how well we know each other. So we're going to answer the questions for each other, but we also want to invite a special guest from Minnesota. So I'm making a lot of eye contact with people over here. So who?
Nora's like avoiding our eye contact.
I know, everyone's trying to not make eye contact with us here in Minnesota. Okay, is anyone interested in coming up and playing this game with us?
Cool.
Okay. Come on up. Oh, yeah, you're on the podcast.
Okay, everybody. Cole started 2 weeks ago. So
sit right in
welcome, new hire Cole.
Okay, we have a mic for you. Do you want to introduce yourself really quick?
My name's Cole Pixley.
And Cole, what do you do here?
I just started incident response here.
Awesome. And 2 weeks in, what's your favorite thing about running with the PAC so far?
There's so many good things,
Okay,
but I've enjoyed meeting a bunch of the people who I've worked with, and it's been fun to get to know them. I feel like I've only been here 2 weeks, but I got to know them way more than 2 weeks.
Awesome.
love.
A great testament to the PAC culture.
Yes. And 2 weeks in, and you're already going to be a superstar on the podcast. Okay, so we're going to get started. We'll just kind of all ask the question. Mary and I are going to write our own answers, and then I'll kind of ask you the question as well. So don't worry. Okay, the first question is best concert of your life. Okay. Be thinking of your answer while we write down. Okay.
I'm still getting my nerves out, so it's hard to write because my hand is shaking.
Okay. Let's start with guessing each other's, and then we'll finish with yours. Okay.
My guess for you, Chelsea, is a Beyonce concert. Do I know which one or a tour? No.
It's funny because I knew you were going to say that. And it is not my favorite concert. I do love Beyonce. But my favorite concert was Stevie Wonder.
Wow.
I went by myself.
And I knew this.
I know, it's okay. I went by myself because none of my friends would come with me. It was the Songs in the Key of Life tour. He played the album top to bottom. Best musicians I've ever heard. That was my answer. Okay, I've been really stressed about this because I have this fear that I'm not going to get any right. And it's like, Chelsea doesn't know Mary. I have no clue. Okay. I was going to guess maybe some sort of country concert. What do you think? What vibes are you getting from Mary right now?
Pop star.
Okay.
Oh, pop star. Okay, I was thinking like, I can't even think of a country person. Luke Bryan.
Okay, great guess. It was country.
Oh, Dan and Shay. I knew you liked Dan and Shay too.
Okay, well, actually, fun their synergy. This one I also went to solo because I couldn't find anyone to go with me. And I bought my tickets last minute. So they're like $75 and like a couple rows from their center stage. Best concert ever.
Wow.
Sang at the top of my lungs, made friends with the people next to me.
Okay, if you get nothing else from the podcast today, go to concerts by yourself.
It might just be the best concert of your life.
Okay, Cole, what's the best concert you've been to?
So I haven't been to that many concerts. However, I also went to this one sort of by myself.
Oh,
I think the best one I went to was my first concert. It was Coldplay. And I went like my freshman year of college.
Wow.
And that was like my first like big concert. And my friend texted me that morning. He's like, "Hey, I just got some free tickets to this Coldplay concert. You want to go?" I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? Let's go. So I went, and he was like several rows up ahead of me. So I was basically there by myself, and it was pretty cool. It was wild. Really
Wow.
enjoyed it.
Fun. Coldplay's on my list. I just
Yeah.
haven't gotten to it yet. Okay, next question. Favorite word? Cole, let's start with you, Cole. What's your favorite word?
I need a moment.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, while Cole thinks, I'm gonna guess Mary's. Oh, whoa. I wrote down Mary's. I'm gonna guess that Mary's is magical. Oh my gosh. We can end the podcast now. I got one question right. I'm feeling great. Okay.
Ooh, okay. So Chelsea's is hard to guess because Chelsea has so many Chelsea-isms. And I feel like I should know this, but my guess is going to be respectfully. Because if you don't know Chelsea personally, she loves to say respectfully, insert sassy comment. And it's honestly so delightful. And I say it all the time now too.
That is true. I mean, if you add a little respectfully, it makes it okay to say. No, my question, which now I'm like, did I spell this right for the whole world to see, is reiterate.
Oh, that's so, now that you say that, I did know that.
I know.
I think the nerves are getting to me.
It's okay. It's okay. Okay, Cole, have you had time?
Yeah, I think the one that came to my head immediately was depends. Like it depends. Because
Okay.
people ask me a question, usually the answer is, well, it depends.
Depends.
You sometimes think
Okay.
I like that.
Okay, last question. Cole, we're going to end with you on this one, okay? So you have plenty of time to think about it. Give us a snapshot of an ordinary moment in your life that has brought you joy.
Okay, I'll guess yours, Chelsea.
Okay.
And I think yours was recently when you were in Ireland
Oh, okay.
overlooking the cliffs of Moher.
I mean, that did bring me joy. 100%.
Ordinary.
Yeah.
Is that ordinary?
It wasn't, that's not my usual day to day. I said when I'm in my hammock staring at the sky and reading.
Okay, love that.
Brings me a lot of joy. I could sit in a hammock for like 8 hours probably and not think a single thought, which is great. My guess for you is I'm gonna cheat. I have two. One is it's Saturday morning. We wake up, we walk with Winnie to the farmer's market, we get some flowers, we get a pastry, we slay Saturday morning, or anything to do with your niece and nephews, like spending time with your family, hosting birthday parties, anything like that.
Okay, so the lesson of this game is that Chelsea knows me really well and I don't know her as well. But yes, I put bedtime stories with A, E, and F.
Cute.
But also Saturday morning farmer's market, no plans is like my perfect Saturday morning.
Okay, love. All right, Cole, what's an ordinary moment that brings you joy?
I would have to say weekend mornings. Often the wife and I will have a cup of coffee or tea in the morning, and maybe if we're lucky, get some donuts, and we just
Ooh.
sit and talk and maybe watch a TV show in the morning. But
Where's
it's
your
one of my
go-to?
favorite. What was that?
I was thinking, what's your go-to donut place?
We live in Egan, so puffy cream donuts, and my favorite donut's an old fashioned.
Okay, yes, love an old fashioned.
Okay.
Sorry, but I cut you off. So you were saying,
It's just a good way to sort of reset myself for the next week. Just take some time to ground myself and enjoy some good stuff and discussion with my wife. So
love that.
Nice. Okay, well, thank you, Cole, for being on the podcast and playing our game. Let's
Yes. Thanks, Cole. Okay, as we transition here, firstly, thank you all to everyone that came. Today is really a celebration of the pack, and we're excited to share pack member stories and highlight culture from wellness to pack gives back, and to so many different pack members and the things that make the pack really special. So excited for our featured guest today to be the pack. We have lots of guests online, but before we get into that, we thought for fun, most of the podcast we spend getting to know our guests. So this is an opportunity for you all to get to know us a little bit. And in celebration of 1 year, we thought you'd take you back to where it all first started. And who doesn't love a good meet cute story? So
Yeah.
We're going to tell you how Chelsea and I met and how the podcast came to be, the Cliff Notes version, because it could get lengthy. So we'll keep it to the fun parts.
It could get lengthy. Okay, for those of you that don't know what a meet cute is, a meet cute is what happens in like a rom-com movie or in like a romance book where the two characters, this is what it is, where the two characters, it's how they meet. So like they bump into each other on the street and then they end up at the same party that night.
Yeah.
Or
a
like,
lime falls out of the shopping cart and it rolls to the person's car and they
yeah.
pick it up and hand it to them. And the rest is history.
Exactly. So Mary and I say that we have a meet cute. And this is our story. So we have to go back to a little over 2 years ago. I was at my former company and I had decided it was time for me to figure out what my next step was. And I had texted my group chat of friends, which included some current Arctic Wolf employees. And I said, hey, I'm quitting. Ha ha ha. And my friend Schaefer, shout out Matt Schaefer, still works here. He texted me on the side and said, you have to come work at Arctic Wolf. It's like the best place I've ever worked. And I said, oh, okay, cool. So I like looked up the company. I didn't see any corporate social responsibility roles, which is what I was currently doing. But I figured it would be good just to make connections anyway. So Schaefer said, regardless, you have to meet Mary. Like you just have to meet her. And I said, okay, sounds good. Like I love to network. And he said, okay, what do you want me to tell her when I reach out? And I said, well, just tell her you have a friend who's like looking for her next steps, and that you think us two should be connected. So from my point of view, Schaefer sends Mary this message.
Okay. Intercede me on LinkedIn one day. And you know how on LinkedIn, on the right-hand side of your screen, it'll say like people you should get to know or people you should meet, something like that. I see Chelsea profile there and it says like director corporate social responsibility or corporate and social
Responsibility.
For the Timberwolves. And I think that's an important point because I see her and I'm like, yeah, I should get to know her. She does a lot of her whole job is giving back. They're the Wolves, we're the Wolves. They give back, we give back. We're both big players in the Twin Cities scene. I was like, we should collaborate. Like I'm imagining doing something super cool, like a basketball game and like the Pack give there and we're giving back and it's like super cool. So I reach out and I basically say something like, would love to collaborate, would love to meet. I think we could do some really cool things together. Would love to learn from you.
Mm-hmm. So I get this message from Mary wanting to collaborate. And so I immediately text Schaefer and I go, what did you tell her? Like I'm trying to leave my job. Excuse me. I'm trying to leave my job. I'm not trying to collaborate. With other companies. And Schaefer goes, I haven't even heard back from Mary yet. And I didn't tell her your name, your title, or where you worked. I just said, I have a friend. So the very same day, and this was the same day, y'all, the very same day that Schaefer reaches out to Mary on my behalf, Mary reached out to me unknowingly. So we like connected. Yeah. We were reaching out to each other.
Yeah.
On the same day, not knowing. And so we end up, this was May, I remember. So we end up having a Zoom call. We chat. I remember just hitting it off. We had like such a great conversation. We were talking a lot about CSR. And Mary was just very upfront at the time, like, we don't have a position. But I had offered to stay connected. If you ever wanted to just chat CSR, I was happy to like share best practices or whatnot. And so we just committed to staying connected. Yeah. And so we had scheduled a coffee for like 2 months later in July. I remember this. And
yeah, and serendipitously, I had just posted for 2 roles on my team right before that coffee. What I do remember from that first meeting was thinking like, Chelsea had talked a lot about like when you're able to give people a way to meaningfully give back, they're able to connect with each other, which connects them more to their workplace. So when they can do good in the world, it helps with just employee morale. I just remember hearing so many tenets of like wanting to create a great workplace culture. And I thought to myself, like, I feel like if she was open to a shift in like what the inputs are, like PX is a lot of like what she enjoyed about her CSR role. So we meet for this coffee.
Yes.
We just catch up on everything in life except for the actual open jobs that were just like sitting there like Elephants in
Literally.
the room.
We talked about anything and everything for 45 minutes. And then right at the end, I was trying to figure out the best time to be like, so this job that you posted. And then I just remember, I think we were talking about like my jewelry or something. I don't even remember. But then Mary goes, so I don't know if you'd be interested. And I just remember immediately going, oh my gosh, I've been waiting to bring up this job, but I didn't know how to awkwardly bring it up. So we laugh about that and then fast forward the interview process, and here we are.
Here we are.
And so, woo! And so that's how I came here to Arctic Wolf. And then pretty early on, Mary had caught wind that I'd always dreamed of starting a podcast.
Yeah, Chelsea would like go on and on about how she was trying to convince her friends to start one, and she had researched the equipment, started in Evernote, came up with a logo, set up meetings.
This is true.
And how nobody was like getting excited except for her.
Mhm.
But I'm hearing all this and I was like, I've been kind of dreaming about like, how do we connect the pack? I think a podcast is such a cool medium because people can listen while they're walking, doing dishes, driving. And we're so big now, like how great would it be to like connect with people no matter where they're at in the world, no matter what time zone, meet them where they're at versus having them have to be in their email to hear from our leaders or to hear from us. So I was like, we should start a podcast. And I knew she'd be excited because I knew it was her dream. I knew it was like a win.
Yeah. And at first Mary wanted me to do it alone.
Yes,
or with
that was the
someone
pitch. I was
else.
like, you should do this for Arctic Wolf.
And I said, absolutely not. If we're talking culture, Mary has to be involved. And it's not fun to do it by yourself. It's better to have a teammate to be part of the pack.
Totally.
So here we are a year later. Shout out to Trisha and Kristen, our leaders, for supporting us. We started with a little 3-episode pilot. We weren't sure how it was going to go. And now here we are, 13 episodes. This will be our 14th episode.
Yes, it's been such a fun ride. So speaking of 14 episodes later and a year of the podcast later, what is like some of your favorite moments?
Yeah, it's hard because every podcast, I like something different, and all of our guests have been so great. Some that stand out, two that really stood out to me when I think back are Claire Loveridge's episode. It was so great to just hear her talk about starting the EMEA business and like some of the challenges, but the wins and how they find joy through like the opportunities and challenges, and just her talking about the importance of mental health and well-being. That just really stuck with me. I remember like getting emotional on recording that one. And then another one that really surprised me, and I mean this in a good way, was our episode with Andrew Burback, because we both went in not knowing how it was going to go, because a lot of our other leaders we kind of had maybe more interaction with, or we knew like more fun things about them going in. And with Burbs, we really were like, we don't know what this is going to be. And he ended up being so easy to talk to. It just stood out to me how he talks about his team, how he supports his team. And just like, yeah, the way he talked about the team and like all his little like nuggets. He really like made it really personable too, like with like little water cooler stories like throughout. So it was great. Those two stood out to me. What about you?
Okay, well, firstly, I agree. I loved Claire's episode, and Andrew's was one of those ones we just walked out and we're like, oh, that was so fun. Like, I'm excited that the rest of the pack is going to get to know Andrew better today and like learn random things about his family and tips and tricks about Subway coupons. But I will say, like, personally, like a little funny favorite moment is Adam Mares. And it didn't make the bloopers because apparently Chelsea and I remember this much differently than it happened. But in terms of being a great team and being a pack together, Adam Mari's episode was episode number 2. And we had just finished the episode with our co-founder, Brian Smith. So we were like very nervous. It was our first one. We were talking to the co-founder. So going into episode 2, we're like, oh, we got this. This is going to be great. And we are like, oh my gosh, I can't wait. Like, what if we ask this question and then we'll just kind of be like shooting the breeze. And we just wanted to open with this like broad open question of like, what didn't we ask? Like, what's on your head? Or what's in your head? What's on your heart? Or what are you looking forward?
What are you most looking forward to or something like
And
that.
for some reason, we thought that was going to be like open Pandora's box and lead to this like supernatural, like awesome conversation about like security. And we asked Adam that, and he said, well, in our memory, he said fall.
That was it.
And
Fall.
literally, I could just see me and Chelsea just like panic eyes through the Zoom of like, oh my gosh, what do we say? And Chelsea's like, what's your favorite thing to do in fall?
I was like, what fall activities do you like?
And we were like, oh, chili cook-offs. What's your recipe? Anyways, it was just that didn't make the podcast at all. It got cut. But like I think back to that moment. It was just we went in with like all the confidence in the world. We were just ready for the best convo ever. And then we were like, fall.
Crickets.
But then so we had Alex play it back for us. We're like, we need to include this in the bloopers. Like, can you play the question, him saying fall, and then insert cricket noises? And he sends back a clip. He's like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. And he literally, Adam is going on about fall colors and the weather and his family. So I think our nerves just took over in that situation.
We had made up a story.
We did.
And that's not exactly what happened, but it was a funny moment. And I remember still being nervous. Like it was still the second episode. So I was still nervous, but we felt more confident going in because we'd at least done one.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, we like know the rhythm and things like that. And then I think that question just really threw us. But we pulled it back together.
Yeah. And with the beauty of editing is we just cut that part out.
Yeah. You guys would never know.
And on a serious note, I will say I really loved actually Adam Mara's episode. He talked so much about well-being, setting boundaries, prioritizing his family, and also trusting his future self. And I've loved that line of like, I trust that future Adam is going to take care of whatever comes his way. I don't need to be anxious about it now. Loved that. That stuck with me. And I loved getting to sit down with Nick, our CEO. He had so many good nuggets to share. I loved his teaser. If you haven't listened to it, you have to listen for he says there's a kiss of death characteristic that he looks out for in interviews. So if you haven't listened, go listen to find out what the kiss of death is. But he also talked about like how to be successful and like, continuously making your plans, tweaking them, executing against them. And also another spoiler, he talked about the 3 ingredients you need to be successful. And we have it here in spades, but if you want to know what it is, you got to listen to Nick's podcast.
You have to listen.
Episode number
don't quote me.
Okay.
5, 6.
Anyways, lots of good moments. If you haven't listened, for sure go back.
Yes. And speaking of Nick's episode, we're going to play a fun little clip before we bring on some PAC members to interview. We got a lot of feedback after Nick's episode that everyone loved this one moment of the episode, which really surprised us. And it apparently is an audience favorite. Yeah. So we're going to play a little clip so that you all can check out this audience favorite moment from Nick's episode. What's your favorite word?
Favorite word?
We can bleep it out if you... No, I'm just joking.
I don't know if I have a favorite word. I don't know.
Wait, Nick, have you never been asked your favorite word before?
No.
Is this the first time? Oh, really? Okay.
You guys have favorite words?
I actually can't say that on this podcast.
Glorious.
Grit.
I guess if you searched my emails, I say awesome too much.
No.
Word?
It's actually 2. Variegated pittosporum.
Ooh. Pressure.
Congratulations.
Okay, well, Nick, from a PAC member perspective, I was going to guess it was either execution or candor. Are those up there?
I don't have a favorite word. I love all words.
Oh, we got so much feedback about that one. Like randomly, people will be like I remember Nicola Hall, I was visiting the UK and she was like, oh my goodness, my daughter and I were watching and we laughed out loud. We thought that was so funny. And we just random people all told us they loved it.
Yeah. So everyone should think about your favorite word in case you might ever be asked the question. But that was a fun little moment. But Mary, it's time to talk to some PAC members.
I'm so excited because we want to celebrate the PAC that makes this place such a great place to work. So we are going to invite up Madison Zander. Woohoo!
Okay, give us a minute as we get situated.
Madison is our office services manager located here in the Eden Prairie office.
I feel like I'm a contestant on The Price is Right, and I've just been called down.
Welcome.
Scootin'.
Yes. Okay, Madison, we're so excited to have you on the podcast today because you reached out after listening to Kristen Dean, our Chief HR Officer's episode, and you shared that it made you tear up.
Mhm.
Tell us about what impacted you.
Yes. Well, if any of you don't know, I am a new mom. I have a 1-year-old at home. She's my girl. Her name is Hadley. And I think, when I was listening to Kristen's podcast, well, one, she is our leader in our org, and I always love listening to anything she has to say. And I think it just caught me off guard when she mentioned, when she found out she was pregnant, she kind of panicked and was like, I have to quit my job. There's no way I can be a good employee and a good mom. And I was just sitting at the desk listening, and it just hit me. And I was like, wow, like, not enough people talk about that. I had those same thoughts. I still have those same thoughts. And I think that was something that just really resonated with me.
Mhm.
And then she kind of goes on to say how silly that was because she's rocking both. And I say, I'm rocking both.
Yes, you are. You are rocking both.
Thank you.
So, from your perspective, what makes Arctic Wolf a great place to work for all, including women?
Okay, how much time do I have? Because I could say a lot. I would just say our benefits are amazing. I mean, and I speak from the US side of things. And for me, it's the people. I mean, I am so fortunate where I get to come to an office every day and I get to interact with a bunch of our PAC members. And for me, they really care about me. And I felt that people wanted to know what I was up to. And even now, like in the hallway, the people still ask me, hey, how's your newborn? How's your daughter? And I'm like, she's one, but thank you. So yeah, I would say our people.
Well, and I think what's cool at Kristen's story too is she goes on to talk about how that's like part of her mission is she wants to make work great so that like, people can fulfill their purpose and like thrive in both areas of life. So it's cool to see you being a living example of her pursuing that.
And I feel very supported to be able to be a PAC leader here today to also encourage those. So thank you.
We've got a lot of PAC members to talk with, so we're going to keep it rolling. We also are going to have Mandy McKenzie join us. Mandy is a director of product, and she is located remotely in Massachusetts. So give me a second. Oh, Mandy.
Yeah, I've just lost my video for some reason. I don't know why it went off. I'm going to try and get it back. I don't know why it jumped off. So do you want to circle back to me and skip ahead?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that works. We can come back.
Sorry to keep you on your toes.
This is actually the perfect segue. Thank you, Mandy, for teeing this next part up because when you're recording a podcast, you never know what's going to happen. But sometimes there's surprise guests, random laughs, bloopers, things you don't mean to say. So let's take a peek back at some of those from the last 12 months.
And I wanted to touch on something that I think both Colette and Anna said, which is mental health is really everything every day, right? Like every decision we're making for ourselves, whether it's how much sleep we're getting or what we're eating or how we're treating those around us, all affect our mental health.
I'm really sorry, that's my carpet fitter banging on the door.
No worries.
You heard a carpet man.
Sorry, they're putting carpets in upstairs, and they wanted. Well done, Chelsea. And they wanted to show me the join.
Oh, okay.
I'm so sorry.
No worries.
They were knocking, and I was really trying to ignore them.
Ready?
Okay, ready. Got to have the logo present.
Nope, I don't care. I'll answer to whatever.
Okay. Anglicmont. That's it? Okay. Oh no, you're crying. Are you sad no one gets your name right? Is that why we're crying?
Yeah. Ooh, don't.
Yeah, no, it's things like forgetting that we have a big event, coming up next week, and I've committed to something, and those type of things. Yeah, I'm an idiot. what my wife calls me is an encyclopedia of useless knowledge. Like I remember things that don't matter, but I forget the things that do. So it's one of those things.
Who gets to decide what matters and what doesn't
That's
matter?
right. Well, I think I've answered that one for you already. So.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Your wife.
Okay, so many moments get cut out of the podcast. Like we could spend a whole hour sharing our bloopers, but those are just some moments where things just don't go to plan, or someone says something really funny that sometimes just doesn't make the cut. But it looks like we have Mandy back. Are you with
Great
us?
timing. I'm back. Can you hear me?
Woo, yay.
Woo-hoo! Okay,
Oh.
perfect. Okay, well, like I said, Mandy McKenzie, Director of Product, located in Massachusetts. So Mandy actually reached out to both Mary and I on LinkedIn, and I remember both of us slacking each other like, oh my gosh, I just got this really nice message on LinkedIn. And the other was like, me too. So Mandy, you actually listened to the podcast before you started working at Arctic Wolf. So could you share a little bit about how the podcast influenced your desire to join the company?
Yeah, and it genuinely did. I had taken a break and I was starting the search for my new role. My criteria was I wanted to work with nice people and have a company that had a strong culture. I wanted a manager that cared about me, and someone that I could learn from. And I wanted to have fun at work. I stumbled across the Challenge Accepted podcast first before the Howler. And I loved listening to Adam and Ian and learned loads about the company and cybersecurity, and all the stuff that they were talking about was very content heavy. And I really got a lot out of that. But then when I stumbled across the Howler, and you two were, your giggling and your laughing sort of caught me immediately, and I found myself chuckling along with both of you. You both made working at Arctic Wolf sound really fun. And I loved your vulnerability and your, admitting your imposter syndrome of being new to the podcast world. And you just captivated me from the start. And then as I started listening to all the guests, Mark's one was hilarious, where he just decided to bring the hot sauce challenge himself. And I loved how leaders had a sense of humor. Kristen's one also, I was really impacted by that. I loved her vulnerability. I loved her admitting her apprehension about being a mom and having a career. And I loved her mantra and relate to it with just working hard and being kind. Claire's one really hit me as well, because firstly, I loved how you both were interested in each other's cultures, and being a global organization, how you were trying to learn some slang and learn sort of cross-culturally, which is important as well. And I got quite tearful. She was so committed, and she was sick at the time, but she showed up, and she was so passionate about her commitment to the role and dedication to Nick and the team. So I felt really connected to that. Dan's one, I loved his Disney trivia. I loved how he put family first and how he was such a dedicated dad, and also his work ethic and his leadership style. So there were so many reasons to join, and all of those leaders just sort of spoke at a culture that I wanted to be a part of.
Wow. Mandy, we got to get you to film a commercial or a PSA or something for the podcast. Thank you so much.
Well, and I need to know, like you said, we made working at Arctic Wolf sound like it was so much fun. And you wanted to work with nice people and be part of a strong culture and have a manager that cares about you, that you can learn from. Have we delivered on the promise?
Tick, 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 tick. I've honestly, I've never worked at a company where the leadership are just so genuinely themselves, so open to suggestion. And I've had multiple leaders reach out to me when to just say, hey, I'm here if you need me. How can I help? Like, do you want to know my version of that? And then cross-culturally, like cross-functionally, everyone's just so willing to help. It's not siloed in your swim lane. If there's something that somebody needs to jump into, they don't stick to the job they do. They're willing to help. And then I think the biggest thing is working remotely. You would assume that you would feel a little bit disconnected and not part of the culture, but you as a company have really engaged remote workers and the global organization, and really, I think, make PAC members feel radically connected no matter where they are. So
radically connected no matter where they are.
Okay, we're stealing that in PX. Radically. Well, thank you so much, Mandy.
You're welcome.
we're so glad that you found the podcast and that you decided to join us here at Arctic Wolf. So with that, thank you, Madison and Mandy, for our impact testimonials. We're going to keep the party going. We're going to hear from some more PAC members and share some more just culture stories. So I am going to invite Ryan Garza onto the podcast. Ryan is a concierge security engineer too, newly located in our Frankfurt office. Ryan used to be in Minnesota, but now he is in Frankfurt, Germany. So welcome to the podcast, Ryan.
Hey, thank you so much. So great to see you all the way from Germany, Mary and Chelsea. Congratulations, the year anniversary. It's a big deal. That's really awesome.
Thanks, Ryan.
And I know we all had some specific questions for me, but just because we were talking and we're just hanging out, right? It's a celebration, it's a party, right? Do you mind if I share my favorite concert for a second? So because it's that time of year, so because it's that time of year and I'm a Minnesota guy, home of Arctic Wolf HQ, right? It was actually Usher a few years ago at the Minnesota State Fair. And what I loved about it is that like he might as well not even have been there because it was like this big Usher sing along for like a few hours. Because Usher, right? Everybody knows all the words to every song. He would start singing every song, and it was like everybody knew all the words, and it was like this big outdoor sing along. It was a beautiful night in Minnesota. We don't get many of those, right? So, but yeah, it was great, and thank you for reminding me of that. But yeah. No.
But Ryan, the question is, were you alone at the concert?
I was not, and that's what makes those memories so great, right? Is when you've got your friends with you, right? Yeah.
Great. Okay, well, we're excited to have Ryan on the podcast. Again, we want to continue to share more about our one-of-a-kind culture. And so a big part of that is our PAC Unity initiative. And Ryan, you have played such a big role, not only with IP Wolves, but just supporting and promoting PAC Unity as a whole. So our first question, you were part of a small committee that we put together last year to celebrate Indigenous Heritage Month for the first time here at Arctic Wolf. It was very exciting. So can you just share a little bit about how participating in that committee impacted you personally?
Yes. First of all, shout out to all of my Wolfpack colleagues that contributed to that whole effort. Like that was amazing. It was so organic and it just like came together like so well. With so much input from so many people and just really became something beautiful that I was really happy to be part of. But yeah, so just to kind of fill folks in a little bit. So what we decided to do last year for Indigenous Heritage Month was do a focus on Native American storytelling. And so as part of that, we just kind of decided that I would actually end up sharing some of my experiences as a kid, growing up as a person with some Indigenous heritage. And I think what was so special and just so impactful and meaningful about the whole experience was I think just anytime you get a chance to share a little bit about your culture and heritage with someone, I think that's a pretty unique experience that not everyone gets to have very, very often, and just really an experience that I really recommend people have at least once in their life. But I think that was what was so so great and so special about that experience for me.
Yeah. And if you don't mind me sharing, I remember you reaching out after the month and after that event specifically, and just sharing that through the process of leading the storytelling event and also just working on the month as a whole, like you were reconnected to part of your heritage and culture that you hadn't been connected to or hadn't been as connected to more recently. So I thought that was so special that through work, you were able to reconnect to your culture in a way which you don't necessarily see in all workplaces. So
the next question, Ryan, it's fun because if Ryan was here in Minnesota, I guarantee without a doubt, he'd be front row here to support. So from the beginning, you've always been such a supporter of PAC Unity and culture and people here at Arctic Wolf. And then seeing you step into leadership of our IP Indigenous Peoples Alliances has been so cool. You and Jonathan, I have to say, if anyone in the PAC was looking for a warm community, Indigenous peoples, you walk out of their monthly meetings and it is just the most warm, supportive, encouraging of human being group ever. So grateful for your leadership. But Ryan, tell us, why is PAC Unity important to you at Arctic Wolf, and why did you decide to get involved?
This is another one of those how long do I have things, I think. I could, and Chelsea, it sounds like you could talk forever about this too, based on your own sort of experience and background. But and actually, I've been thinking about this a little bit since you all asked me to be on. And I think what I kind of distill it all down to is that, it feels like, we all do this thing with 8 hours of our life every day, right? As part of the Wolfpack, whatever it is that we do and how we contribute. And, yeah, you can just punch the clock and go home and live your life. And that works great for a lot of people. But I think anytime that you can connect more deeply with that 8 hours of your life that you spend doing that thing every day, and really like feel invested in that 8 hours, I think that, that can't help but spill over into other areas of your life. I mean, you're going to feel happier and healthier. You're going to appreciate your friends and family and hobbies and community and all those other things in your life that bring you joy. And like, I feel like that in turn kind of spills back over into that other 8 hours. And, it makes you, a better teammate, a better contributor, a better listener, a better leader, a better, all of those things. And it just kind of creates this self-perpetuating cycle of wellness, I guess, since that's kind of a big focus in our company right now. And I think, those are all, I mean, really great, reasons that, I think organizations should invest in things like you all are doing with Pack Unity. And at least that's, been my experience. So I can speak to that for sure.
Ryan, we are so lucky to have you at the Pack. You're just a gem of a human. I feel like we need you back on the podcast because I could hear you talk for hours. You should take our job, is what I'm saying.
No, oh my gosh.
No, we really appreciate you, everything you do for Pack Unity, for IP Wolves, the way you support culture in general. So I know it's a late night for you, so I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Congrats again. Thanks.
Okay, we're going to keep it moving. We now are going to invite Eric Mickelson to join the podcast. Eric is also a concierge security engineer too, and he is located in our Pleasant Grove, Utah office. Okay, welcome to the podcast, Eric.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're just going to jump into the first question. We have Eric on because he is part of a group that has built our Silver Wolves program. So first, Eric, can you tell us a little bit more about what Silver Wolves is and how it got started?
Well, it got started about a year ago, and it was when we really started getting into VTO at this store. Sorry, I said this store, at this building. Mm-hmm. And we're thinking, hey, what could we do that's a little different than you'd be used to? Something that we can use and show our knowledge. So we tried this like bifurcated path. One would be off for actually, providing a needed service, but also why can't we learn and do some practicing and so forth. So came up with this idea of Silver Wolves, and we decided that we're going to go to senior citizen centers, senior homes, whoever we can get in front of, and teach them how to not be victimized by the crooks. So kind of, and at the same time, we're able to go up and take a moment to feel like a professional, take a moment, an expert actually, and that gives you a lot of boosts, a lot of awareness, and it kind of kills the monster that what do you call it? The imposter syndrome. It helps knock that down because you start feeling like you're a part of something huge. And so we started doing this, and we started making some partners. We made a partnership with a place out here that's over three counties. And so far we've done about 20 of them.
Wow.
And they're just about 20 of the visits. And every one of them you leave, and it's like you just feel this effervescent thrill of doing a good thing. And Mary knows what I'm talking about because she was there.
Yes, I do. I got to witness it.
And she was there for our best one. And so we're going to keep doing it. I just went over to, actually, I had a phone call with the Department of Health and Human Services at Utah. And we're going to see how far we can take this. And I would love to get in front of as many seniors in Utah where we could actually impact like the FBI numbers, to where if we get that many seniors in front of us at some time, maybe we can actually see a decrease in the Utah numbers over any of the other states. It's a big idea, but wow, yeah, we can do it. Or they say challenge accepted, for sure.
Yes, for sure. It's so amazing. I haven't gotten to witness one yet live like Mary did, but Eric always does a great job of sending me the pictures and recaps after. And it truly looks like every pack member that does a Silver Wolves visit, to your point, Eric, leaves just like so fulfilled. They feel like they've made such an impact. So for those listening, we are working on rolling out the Silver Wolves program globally. So there will be a place in Confluence where you can go pull the PowerPoint, pull the flyers, get all the information so that you can do your own Silver Wolves visit wherever you are in the world, if you're interested in using your VTO that way. So stay tuned.
Yes, and kudos and thank you, Eric, and the entire Pleasant Grove team that has developed Silver Wolves. It's such a testament to the spirit of the pack of wanting to do good together and pursue our mission of ending cyber risk. So
it's pretty cool because when we actually get a new request to do to do an event, it takes about 30 seconds to fill up people to actually volunteer and go do it. So it's kind of one of those things. It's a battle, which is a good thing. So
yeah,
so far so good.
Yeah, it's amazing. Thank you, Eric.
Okay, thank you so much, Eric. Keep up the great work in Utah.
Thank you.
Last culture focus here is going to be on well wolves and wellness at Arctic Wolf. We're going to invite Amanda Lumsden, our people experience specialist located in the Newcastle, United Kingdom office, and also Kyle Harwood. He's our manager of security operations located in the KW office. Amanda and Kyle are 2 of 30 Well Wolf ambassadors that we have across the globe. We have 2 in every office and 2 for our remote pack as well. And they have gone through 2 days of training and been certified to support and be a resource for their colleagues going through a mental health challenge. So it's a really cool program. Every single one of our Well Wolf ambassadors is really passionate and caring, and we wanted to invite them to share a little bit about the Well Wolf Ambassador Program and wellness at Arctic Wolf. So welcome to the podcast, Amanda and Kyle. Excited to have you here. Do y'all want to make sure? It looks like Amanda's off mute. Kyle, okay, you're good too. Amanda, we'll start with you. Why do you think the Well Wolf Ambassador Program is important, and what motivated you to apply to be one of our ambassadors, specifically for the Newcastle office and EMEA region?
Yeah, sure. So I guess I feel that a lot of the time we focus quite heavily on physical health. And obviously that's a huge thing. It's really important that we do that. But I guess without our mental health, we don't have our physical health. And I guess it is sometimes easy to overlook our mental health amongst everything that's going on in our lives all of the time, whether that be work, personal stuff. And I guess we've all sometimes at some point in our lives felt a little bit overwhelmed, experienced stress or poor mental health, or had friends or family members that have gone through something similar. Burnout is a big deal. I feel like sometimes we underestimate burnout, and sometimes we can't see the wood for the trees. There's loads of stuff going on in our lives, and sometimes it might be difficult to switch off with these things. And I guess there's sometimes things that we can do to help that, whether it's exercise, whether it's going for a walk, reading a book, just taking some time to just check out, I guess, for yourself. But I guess the main thing for me is just letting somebody know that you're there to talk to them and that they have somebody there that, you know, you can listen and just be there to support somebody and letting that person know that you are there to help and support them. And why is it important to me? I guess, I keep saying I guess, sorry, I feel like I'm a bit nervous.
You're doing great.
Yes, you're great.
Yeah, so in terms of the training, honestly, it was amazing. It was just so cool to be among so many other people that share the same passion. And it was a really cool opportunity to do all of the role play and just play out some different scenarios and just being able to help people and direct them to the support that they need. We have our employee assistance program, which is a 24/7 support network that we can direct our colleagues and friends and family to. And I did actually find this quote, which was, it's not stress that kills us, it's our reaction to it. So my role as a wellbeing ambassador is to help people manage that reaction and give them the tools that they need, such as, like I said before, the employee assistance program. So you can speak to a counselor potentially, you can talk through your options and just diffuse that reaction.
We were just laughing a little bit when you shared your quote, because it's actually kind of relevant to something we're going to share at the end. So the PX team, always on the same wavelength over here. But that's amazing. Thank you, Amanda. Kyle, we have a question for you. I know you've been an advocate for mental health and well-being at Arctic Wolf for a while now. So what impact have you seen from the program being in place? And I guess what motivates you to continue to be an advocate?
Yeah, no, thanks for the question. As far as impact goes, it hasn't been around that long, but once we started to kind of get it out there, started hearing more and more success stories on our channel, and just other members of this team kind of reaching out saying, hey, I ran into this situation, or I came across this instance. I had this scenario I wasn't really ready for. And you're hearing these success stories, which is great for someone like me, because I love hearing the perspective on how people are handling different issues, because that's one of the big benefits of having this all over the world now too, and all our offices, is people have different stressors, different challenges, different concerns in different parts of the world, whether they be a single person at home or a shift worker with kids or everything in between. But seeing that impact and the amount of people with their, not only their success stories, but also their challenges and how they overcame them, it's been huge for me. Personally, I think I've had something like 11 or 12 people reach out in the short time we've been together. And it's not always either for resources. Sometimes it's just people saying, well, I didn't know anybody really wanted to have this conversation. And now we have a whole list of people who are ready and willing.
Amazing. It's been so special seeing the Wolf Ambassador community come together and what you all have started to create. I know Mary and I, we're not official ambassadors, but we're lucky enough to just be in the channel to help support the program. And every day I feel like we are talking about how jealous we are that we are not official ambassadors. But again, the way you all support each other, you support the pack, it's just so special. So thank you both so much for being here and for all you do as our Wolf ambassadors. And with that, we would love to play a little clip. I think the one question we ask every podcast guest is, how do you prioritize your mental health and well-being for yourself and for your team? So we've put together a little clip of some gems and nuggets that we've heard throughout the past year.
One thing I've realized is you can't be on all the time.
My approach is just to like set limits. So for example, I have Slack on my phone, but I don't have notifications turned on. And like everybody knows that. I tell my leaders, I tell my peers, I tell everyone, I say, if it's, after hours or whatever, like I don't pay attention to Slack. So you can call me, like if it's really important.
What I will say is that I get up at 5 o'clock every morning and I go to the gym every day.
You really are on call 24/7, and it's no different now being on a security team. You're on call 24/7, but you've got to step away from work. You cannot work all the time. You can't think about work all the time. So it's really been a lifetime of building up ways to responsibly step away from work. And by responsibly, I mean you make sure that someone else is going to answer the calls or filter them before they get to you for a time period.
Going to the gym is a necessity for me. It's part of a routine, and if I don't do it, I'll struggle.
One thing I've wanted to do for a very long time was to participate in a therapy program, and it took me a while to find one, and I finally did it and loved it.
And sometimes doing the best that you can do at work gives you mental wellness because you feel like you've achieved something.
You got to be gone. It takes a big chunk of your time, but you got to kind of, balance the scorecard out a little bit by saying, all right, I had to be gone 5 days a week last week. Maybe I'll take Monday off to, go reset and reconnect on the home front.
Intelligence, but actually for me, cognitive behavior therapy was probably the most powerful thing that I have ever done. And if I could encourage anybody to do something to help themselves increase their EQ or to think about different ways to deal with it, that changed my life.
One thing I've been doing to prioritize my mental health, I've actually been prioritizing my sleep.
Again, I make these contracts with my future self and I say, well, at 9 p.m. I'm going to go deal with those, but from 6 to 9 I'm going to spend time with my kids and really focus on that and be present. So it's being deliberate, and also realizing that things like sleep, things like disconnecting from work, things like hobbies and recreation. I learned early in my life, for me, working out is really important, whether it be, hiking, mountain biking, going to the gym. I've got to get that physical exercise, and they make me better at my job.
So my dream during lockdown was to be able to work in the city and be able to live by the coast, and that dream has come true for me. So I spend a lot of time in the evenings at the moment in the dark, but at weekends walking my puppy and exploring the coastline of the Northeast, which is just gorgeous.
Okay, so as you can see, lots of advice shared throughout the podcast episode. So I encourage you to listen to the podcast. We also have a special mental health and well-being roundtable episode, which you saw clips of. And just one last plug for our Well Wolf ambassadors, our EAP, our Employee Assistance Program, and also our Mental Health and Well-being Pack Unity Alliance is a really amazing, safe space for people to share as well. And as always, the PX team.
Yeah.
For any
You're
sort
not
of
alone if you're part of the pack.
100%.
Out.
Okay, well, we've come to the end.
We've come to the end.
We did it. So if you're a listener, you'll know that Mary, well, even today, Mary is eloquent. She's so well-spoken. She always really gets to the heart of like the message or whatever we're trying to portray. And I just kind of say funny things throughout the episode. So Mary's definitely the heart, and she always has such great advice. And so we kind of have like a Mary's Words of Wisdom segment that I coined in some of the episodes. So Mary is going to end with her Mary's Words of Wisdom. But before that, we're going to play a little clip of a time where she was going to share some inspirational words, and they just missed the mark just a little bit. So we're going to play that clip now.
I once read a book, and this analogy has always stuck with me, but the author loved to skydive, and he said that his instructor told him, this is a kind of graphic analogy, but it breaks down fast, but roll with me. But he talked about how if people that have died from like a skydiving accident, it's not the impact that kills you. Like, it's not the first bounce. It's the second, because when you first hit the ground, obviously there's that impact, but it's when you like bounce and hit again that like your shattered bones from the first bounce like puncture your organs and then you bleed out. So very graphic analogy there, but it's like has always stuck with me. I'm like, if we let the first impact crush us, like it's not actually the worst. It's not the first impact that breaks us. It's that we let the first downfall, the first hardship, the first low be the end instead of rising above it.
So reminder, it's not when your bones puncture your organs. I'll never forget. And you did pull it back together. Like, you got to the point, but I'll just never forget. I was like, why is she talking about bleeding out on the podcast? Like, and Claire's face, like, it was such a funny moment. And we laughed about it so hard. As soon as we stopped filming, Alex, our podcast producer, his first words were like, I was crying at the skydiving accident story, or it's not even an accident. That's what it's turned into in my brain, the skydiving story. So now it's turned into a funny little, because of course the HR team has seen the clip already. Yeah. It's turned into a funny little like, don't bounce phrase that we have.
Yeah. So Amanda said, it's not the stress that kills you, it's your reaction to it. I was like, that was the better version of what I was trying to say. It's not the failure that kills you. It's how you respond to it.
100%.
Could have left out the punctured organs
and the bleeding out.
But anyways, on that note, thank you all so much for coming to the podcast and just being part of the celebration of the pack and our culture and the people that make it so special. Every single one of you being part of that. Chelsea and I were talking a little at the podcast, and I was like, I feel like the perfect way to end is to talk about where we started. We had this dream, we had this idea, we had like awkward moments along the way. We had fails like that inspirational story gone wrong with an executive listening. But at the end of the day, like one of our culture tenets is to innovate to advance. And to innovate, you need to be willing to take risks. You need to be willing to step out of your comfort zone. You need to be willing to kind of like fall down and have funny moments. And we hope that this way of connecting the pack through the podcast is inspiration to all of you to follow your dreams and to innovate to advance in whatever way that looks like for you as we are on our journey to end cyber risk. So it's been really fun. I think that's a wrap.
Yes, with that, thank you for being here. And it'll be fun for you that listen live to listen again and see what made it, what didn't make the cut, what did make the cut. And we will be back with our regularly scheduled program next month. I think we have Lane Roush on with us. So thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.